Okay. Hi, MJ.
Hi, Phoebe.
Wow, you're in the space in between. First time officially, but you've been hanging out with me in the space in between for years.
Many, many years. Thank you for having me.
You're
How
so welcome. Um, yeah, I mean, we have so many stories together, and I know some other stories about you and your journey. But for just everybody who's meeting you for the first time, would you mind just sharing who you are and where you are in the world and what you're offering?
Sure. I'm MaryJo Samaritano, or MJ, as my friends call me, Phoebe. I am from New York originally. I'm born and raised in Jamestown, which is just southwest of Buffalo, if you don't know where that area is. But spent really my adult life in the Hudson Valley, which is where I met Phoebe, of course. So I really consider that my home, Beacon Fishkill area. And just about 11 years ago, I transplanted myself to South Florida. I am in the West Palm Beach area. I'm in Jupiter, Florida. So I guess the reason I came here, I experienced some maybe not so great things that were going on in my life. Um, the past few years that I spent in New York. So I realized that a lot of my energy was really being sucked out and siphoned out. So I chose to make a move here and haven't looked back. I'm very happy to be here in South Florida with new friends, and my best friend actually does live here that I grew up with since kindergarten, so that's always nice. Um, and what I'm so offering my retreat, yeah,
Lots of things.
lots of things that I'm offering. So I did my yoga teacher training too while I moved here. So going on my seven seven no eighth year of yoga teaching now. I know time flies so fast. So I do a lot of offerings. I did a winter solstice event last night. I do a lot of sacred pause and movement 109 that I learned from Phoebe, as well as several yoga classes a week. And looking forward to sharing my retreat coming up in the spring of 2024. So the first week of April in beautiful Bali, which the first time I went was with Phoebe.
Yeah, we're going to talk all about that, I'm sure.
Good times. Good times. COVID. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll just leave it at that. So
Yeah.
it was,
We'll circle back to that in a
we'll
little.
circle back.
Yeah, it's been such a joy to be able to witness you because we were just sitting in our nOMad session. I think it was on Monday, and you said that you were introducing yourself to somebody who's new to our group, and you were saying, I think I've known Phoebe for 13 years. And it's like, oh my gosh, that is a long time. And
Hmm.
I think that, you kind of touched on a challenging part of your life. And that's when I also met you. And when I was also going through a major shift in my life as well. And you were one of my students at that
Absolutely.
house.
Yeah, I was. And I'm so grateful. So I don't know if I ever shared with you the reason that I started going to the Roundhouse. You
Oh,
had sent out a postcard. It was through the U.S. mail, I believe, is where I got it. And there was
yeah.
a picture of you, and I'm pretty sure it was of your back, and I think you reverse namaste behind your back, probably on the falls, on the
Mhm.
waterfall. And I don't know why I remember that so vividly, but was that it? Was that the picture that was on there?
I think so. I was wearing all white and
Yeah.
I don't know if my hands were behind. That was actually my branding for my own business.
Mm,
Yeah, I did have hands in prayer. I don't know if it was reverse or not.
yeah.
But I was standing at the falls. I remember that very
Okay. So
clearly.
yeah, that was such a long time ago, but there was something about that that just struck me, and I said, I need to go check this place out,
Mm.
and then that's where I met you. Um, and I know it wasn't very long until things started to shift for the both of us, and I ended up leaving New York to come to Florida, but you made sure that, you were always still there for me. You held space for me. And then you had like a little get together for me downstairs in the restaurant after one of our classes,
Mhm.
or the
Yeah.
probably the last class that I attended before I was leaving.
Yeah.
And holy cow, wow, what a long time ago. But that is why I started coming, was because of really that marketing thing. And it spoke to me. I had already been practicing yoga at another studio. Um, and then I found you, or found the Roundhouse, and started coming there.
Mm.
And I'm so very grateful to have met you and all the other teachers that you had there that I still like, keep in touch with. I love. That was so amazing. What a beautiful space and beautiful energy. And yeah, so that
Yeah.
led me. that that was a tough time, I know, for you and for me, but it helped me to be there with you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being there. And
Mm.
you never know. A couple things that you just said, like we never know who we're actually reaching. I remember taking that photo. I remember who was taking the photo, getting the postcard together. I don't remember how we decided where to send them to. In fact, I sort of blocked out the fact that we mailed them to actual humans. Like I thought we just meant that, can't remember if we sent packages to
Yeah.
different locations, but you somehow got that. And and I just want to kind of emphasize that because a lot of times, especially these days when there's so much noise and we're trying, because you spoke of the marketing, like we don't know who we're actually reaching. And sometimes if we think, and you and I have talked about this recently in different ways, like sometimes we look at, oh, how many people like us or are in our class or whatever, but we're actually affecting other people that are, behind the scenes.
Right.
And I didn't know you got that postcard. I didn't know that's why you got there. And, I absolutely connected with you right away being at the Roundhouse.
Mhm.
And I definitely felt you were special, and we wanted to make sure you felt good when you were leaving because you had become such a part of our community at the Roundhouse and when you were leaving. And I think I was going through my challenging time too, and we both felt that. And I kind of want to speak into that a little bit more. You don't have to share what was going on in your life, but how, in terms of how yoga really saved you, because it truly has saved me too. And if people are out there right now, kind of going through their dark night of the soul and their challenges in life and going, God, I don't know what to do in this space in between, this liminal space of transition. And I've heard of this yoga thing before, or, I've heard of these different kinds of practices. Can you just speak a little bit more to how that practice has really helped and served you in that time?
Yeah, so for me, it helped me so much. First of all, just to move my body in just an organic, authentic way,
Mhm.
to help me internally heal more mentally than physically. To mentally heal, it was a very, very challenging time in my life, a very tumultuous time, um, that I'm still working through after all of these years. It's been, gosh, 13 or 14 years, I think, going on 15 years, and I'm still processing it, which is fine. It's great. Um, but the yoga helped me not just be a kinder human to other people, but to be kind to myself. And that was really the important piece for me, is to take care of me, take care of number one, um, because really nobody else is going to do it. You have to really care for yourself. Um, so it was, that's really how it went for me. And I think I practiced every day
Mhm.
with you, or one of the other teachers. I was there every single day. I remember my mom had come to visit, and she's gone now, but I remember this conversation so clearly. And I said, I'm going to go to yoga. And she was fine with that. Wasn't gone very long. And she said, well, how often do you go? And I said, I go every day. So I remember her looking at me and saying, "You go every day?" And I said, I do. It's just, an hour and a half out of my life. And it just, that hour and a half gives me so many more hours to be happy and just to feel grounded and to feel received and feel welcomed and loved in the yoga studio space, or just in your presence or the other teachers' presences. So it really has helped me, and it continues to help me. Now I still find as much time as I possibly can to take other people's classes. Even you and I just having our time once or twice a week just to do a sacred pause or a meditation or some kind of gentle movement. I do find time to take classes from others as well, because I know that I still want it and I still need it. As busy as my schedule is, I still find time to do that, which I encourage everybody to do the same.
I think that's important, especially because you did transition to be a teacher. And
Yeah.
I see so many people who get their teacher training and then they stop practicing. It's like I gave them a certificate and then they're like, they forgot that they actually have the practice because they go, and I was guilty of this too. When I started to teach Pilates and then teach yoga, that was what I was doing as a full-time business.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't give myself the me time. And I love that you really established that. What you were saying is you really came to it as a healing for yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this dedication and this practice. And it sounds like what happened for you when you did make that choice to step in as a teacher, you said, okay, I still need to keep that intention of this is for me, and you're also giving and learning and receiving. But that's really important, and I love that you shared that. And I also love something that you spoke of right at the beginning of that, is how you were still healing for something that was like 15 years ago. And I think that a lot of people think, oh, okay, I'm going to try this practice called yoga or meditation or whatever it might be, breath work. And I'll do it for 2 months or 3 months or 6 months and go, okay, I should be healed by now.
I'm good.
Yeah, but it's layers, right? Like it sounds like, and what I've witnessed of you is that it's given you a really solid foundation of who you are, like a new base point, right? And now, yes, there's still challenges that come. Like I witnessed you losing your parents and along the way, and like, but that was you were ready for that to a certain extent because you had this solid foundation. And then there was, there's always something, right, that's coming at us and for us, and to have that practice, like I love that you just said that it's not it's in layers, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It for sure is in layers, and we just have to keep either peeling away or adding more layers to it. It's been, a long journey, but one of my favorite phrases that I like to say when I'm going to a practice is, I'm always a student. No matter what, I'm always a student. And I've done multiple trainings for yoga. I've done advanced yoga. I've done like little smaller workshops to teach specialized things in yoga, like prenatal and yin and all these different smaller things. Movement 109, all of these kids. I did kids yoga too, teacher
Mhm.
training, but I'm still learning. It's always a learning curve for me, and I always like to be that student. And when I go to a class and just try not to be the teacher that's the student, and just listen and receive from other teachers. I mean, a lot of times my brain will be like, oh, or I'll just say it right out loud. That was a cool transition. Like, just because you notice, you notice what other people are teaching. I'm like, maybe I'll try that next time. But I do my best to not do that, because I just want to receive the practice and enjoy it as a student, and not, be called on or picked on or anything like that. I'm there. I have my mat, and I'm surrounded by other students, and that's it. I love it. I love to do that. And like I said, sometimes it's difficult, it's challenging to find the time to go, but I spend time in the yoga studio a lot because I'm there a lot. So in between my classes or before my class or whatever, I can find a time to take something,
Yeah.
some kind of movement or a meditation even is helpful for me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what was that turning point for you that you wanted to step in? I mean, you're always a student, as you said, but step in as the lead, as a teacher.
Well, it had always called to me. I think for me, it just kept calling and calling and calling that I needed to share. Like everything that I had received from you and from Molly. Molly was another teacher in the Hudson Valley at another studio. But everything that I had received, it touched me so deeply that I felt, and I started just to think about, I need to share these gifts that I've received from others, and look how much I have grown, look how much I have healed. Just look at all these things that have gone better for me since I've started doing yoga.
Mm.
When I moved here into Florida, I immediately found um, a studio that hadn't quite opened yet. So I started taking barre. I started taking barre classes, and then while the other studio was still being built, so I took barre classes, which we had taken at, it was an infused class at your studio.
Gosh, great.
Um, yeah. Uh, and then when the yoga studio opened, I went there. Now I'm still there. I went there from day one as a student. I completed like a whole year, I think, and then I was their karma yogi. I ran their desk for them, and then I did my teacher training, and I'm still there. So 10 years that I'm still at the same place.
Amazing.
Yeah, isn't it? It's just, it's so great. It's so great. But so for me, I was waiting for that studio to open. It was close to where I lived at the time.
Mm.
Not where I lived. It was not super close to where I worked. And then getting out of work at 5 or 5:30, trying to get to downtown West Palm Beach during rush hour to take yoga was challenging sometimes.
Mm.
So I started researching something closer. Just I was still going to this one studio, but I needed something closer to where I was working that I could get to quicker if I got stuck in traffic. So I end up at this yoga studio on a Groupon, like
Yeah.
literally on a
Interesting.
Groupon. I go there and I'm talking to the owner. Her name is Jill. And obviously, she's asking me questions about my health and do I have any injuries and have you practiced yoga before? And I'm like, oh, yeah. And I said it just so not, I go, oh, yeah. And she just started laughing. She goes, oh, yeah. It's like mocking me. Um, and as I'm talking to her, I look up on their events board, which was a huge chalkboard,
Mm.
and I'm looking at it. And I said, oh, you're doing teacher training here.
Mm.
And she said, yeah, we are doing teacher training starting in, I think it was April. And I believe I had started this studio probably in January. So
Okay.
um, I was like, oh, that's very interesting. So I researched it a little bit. I reached back out to her. And next thing you know, I was sending her my deposit
Awesome.
and did my teacher, my first 200 I did there. So it was a big step for me, but it just kind of fell in my lap
Mhm.
that I visited this other place. They offered teacher training, and then right in that transition time, the store that I was managing, the company filed bankruptcy and went out of business.
Wow.
So so it's like, huh, okay, well, I'm losing my job, but now I have my yoga teacher training that I'm still working on.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I'm finishing this up. So I had something to fall back on. Well, that was now my main source of income now was yoga, and just grateful that now I know so many different studios in the area
Mhm.
that know me and offered me to teach classes there. I think I taught at like 3 or 4 different studios at the beginning. Like, I think that we've all done that. Just whatever we can get, we take. Um, so that's how I ended up doing that. And not that I'm happy that a business had to close and go out of business, but I benefited from that and was able to dedicate myself to my teaching at that time.
That's wonderful. So it felt like the universe happening for you.
Exactly.
Not feel like that at the time, but it was really setting the stage for you
Hmm.
to make this leap, to really dive in deep to your path of teaching.
Hmm.
That's beautiful.
To jump, I think you and I have spoken about my jumping off a cliff before, and that was another instance of me jumping off a cliff and just do it and figure it out. For me, I do a lot of things spontaneously. It's not that I do them wildly without thinking, but because I do think about them first, but I'm very spontaneous when it comes to doing a lot of things. And it was just a good thing for me to do that, and here we are.
Mm.
Here we
Can,
are.
can you speak a little bit more about that? Because I probably shared in that same conversation you're referring to. I tend to take leaps too, and and I might be a little bit more reckless. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just we both are not afraid to take risks. And I would love to know a little bit more of like do you feel like that's something that was born within you, or was it something that you worked on over time? For anybody who, like, has kind of been in the I do this and I show up, and to take a big risk, I don't I need to do all of my research first before I'm spontaneous.
Because those two phrases don't really go together, but they kind of
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
They kind
Yeah.
of do.
Can you
Uh,
speak to that?
well, yeah, I feel like for me, um, even though as a child and people in my life nowadays, they almost laugh when I tell them what a shy child I was,
Mm.
terrified to speak,
Mm.
so scared to speak that I stuttered
Oh.
terribly, terribly. I was always afraid to be in public. I didn't want to talk. I was not that I didn't want to talk, but I was scared to talk.
Mhm.
Still haven't really processed that, whatever that is, that trauma. There's something there that we have to,
In a
we,
past life thing.
yeah, we have to get to that one of these days.
We'll dig
Probably you and I together
in.
one of these days. But yeah, I feel like as a teenager, I guess in my college years when I had just started college, um, my birthday is late in the year, so I started college when I was 17. So I was super young, and I didn't even really consult my parents. I was in high school. We had like our guidance counselors, and um, we had these like little career days and where do you want to go to school. And I literally picked a college without even talking to my parents first, and came home and said, I want to go to this school right here. It was still in New York. So from where I was in Jamestown to Syracuse, I mean, it was still, I don't know, what is it, 4 hour drive, but it was still a way that I was able to just, my dad gave me a car and I packed my stuff and I drove to college. It was like, I want to go here. And they were like, oh, but my parents were very supportive always, especially my dad was very supportive. My mom was too, but my dad more so supportive. So at 17, I left. I went to college. My second year of college, I had the opportunity to go to London, England, to do a semester of college there. Now I'm 18. I'm not even 19 yet. I have never even been on an airplane before.
Oh, wow. I
I
love
had
it.
never been on an airplane, let alone go to a foreign country.
Yeah.
I That was another thing, because you had to actually be chosen. It wasn't about money or anything like that. You had to be chosen through the college, through the program, to go to this other school in London. So I applied for it, and I probably didn't tell my parents again.
By the way,
It
for
was,
the kidding.
hey, mom and dad, I got approved to go to London. And again, they were like, oh, okay. So here I am, 18 years old. And that was back in the day of travel agencies that were still, that was like the main way to book travel. So my parents made me go by myself. Like, well, you made this decision by yourself, then you're going there by yourself, and
Yeah.
you're going to figure out how you're going to pay for your plane ticket and all of that. So I made all my arrangements myself. I had never been on an airplane ever in my life, and I flew to Heathrow. I think I don't know, Heathrow or Gatwick. I think Heathrow. I flew into by myself, alone. I didn't have anyone with me. None of the other students were. I don't even think I knew any of the other students from the school that I was meeting over there. So it started then,
Yeah.
just as the spontaneity of, okay, I'm doing this, I'm going here. I ended up spending probably 3 months in London. I turned 19 when I was there. um, and I didn't want to come home. So
Oh,
since then, like, that was my first passport, and now fourth. I'm
yeah.
on my fourth passport, which I just pretty much told everybody how old I am, but they're like they're like, how many years does a passport last? So um yeah, that started, really, my spontaneity was my teenage years, when I was just getting out of high school and making my way into college. That even though I was such a shy human, that I have to be able to go places on my own. Now I have to speak for
Mhm.
myself, because there's no one else there and there's nowhere to hide. I'm on an airplane, I'm in a foreign country. Luckily, they spoke English, but just learning the ways and figuring out how to get, I had to get on a train. Like, I don't even know, I still don't know how I did all of this,
Yeah.
because it's all a blur. I
Yeah.
had to get on a train to go from the airport to somewhere else, and then get picked up by a taxi cab to get to. It was actually a hostel that we were staying in. It was like an old. It was an old hospital. You could tell that it was a hospital
Oh, whoa,
at
that's
one point, but they called it a hostel.
okay.
I somehow got there, and the taxi driver was not very pleasant with me at first, and then especially 'cause I didn't understand the money,
Oh,
and that when I paid him and he gave me back all coins, and I didn't realize that the coins were like dollars,
yeah.
right? I said to him, I said, I thought I gave you whatever I gave him, and he got mad, and I said, I'm sorry. And then all of a sudden, here I am, like, oh God, now I have to talk. And I was
Mm,
like, you know what? I said, I'm sorry, I don't understand the money. And then he took a couple minutes and he showed me like every coin and how much, what their value was. And that was very nice of him. He didn't have to do that. But then I was like, okay, this is not so bad. I can do this.
yeah.
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 Yeah. But since then, I've done very spontaneous things. From there, and then after I graduated college, I came home just for a couple of months to my parents' house, and then I got a job, which I had to move to again. So I accepted this job, I moved, and then I just started moving all over the state of New York, from
Mm,
one end to the other. And that's when I ended up in the Hudson Valley
mm.
for all of those years. I think I spent 19 years there
Oh,
in the
wow.
Hudson Valley, yeah, before I moved here. So it was just whenever I had pretty much the same job the whole time that I was there, but with the company, they just kept moving me from place to place to place. And I was like, okay, it was pack your stuff and let's go. All
Yeah.
right, here we go. New adventure for
Mhm.
me. Um, and then I moved here, and that was another kind of not really spontaneous, but it was.
Yeah.
It was.
When I was listening to you, I was feeling like, you came in and this shy girl. And I almost kind of saw you going like, enough is enough. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go travel to London.
Yeah.
And kind of like you chose to push yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
And you are now like a world traveler. I got to be a world traveler with you, which we'll talk about in a
Yeah.
second.
We will.
You know, I was thinking when you were just saying, we'll unearth this a little bit more. I feel like, there's a mantra that my teacher, Elizabeth, had shared with me a long time ago when I was kind of figuring out what my challenge, like, why was I going through what was I going through? And she said, your karma turns into your dharma, right?
Mm,
Those challenges, those lessons that your soul chose for yourself in this lifetime is actually your purpose, right? And you, I think, because I've witnessed you for so many years now, as a student, as a teacher, as a person who's traveling the world, I can see how you really see the shy person in others, right? So you had to go through that and feel that for yourself in order to connect with other people around the world and in your classes and in your community. And you always like, I always notice that you tap into the people that are maybe being a little bit quiet or maybe not really being seen and heard.
yeah.
And because you know that about yourself, like that's where you came from. And so you
Hmm.
have this greater sense of, providing a space of belonging for others who might not feel like they have their voice. So I just wanted to reflect that back for you. So if you're feeling like, why did I come into this world? Well, because it was your purpose, it was your dharma, right? You had to go through that. And then it sounds like what happened was when you were coming of age, you're like, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to just make these choices and put myself out of my comfort zone. And you had those vulnerable moments where you shrunk down and, like, but that person, that taxi driver, right,
Yeah.
noticed that and picked up on that. And I think that was a lesson that stuck with you of, oh, okay, I want to be that person too when somebody's out of sorts and not in their environment. And
Right.
um, yeah,
Yeah. I actually had that quickly last night when I hosted Winter Solstice.
yeah,
I had two of my usual participants reach out to me and ask me if they could bring someone.
okay.
And I was like, of course you can, absolutely. And it was from both of them. They said, well, this person is not a yogi, but I think that they could use some of your healing. So
Mm,
I mean, they already know me because they've been to many of my things, but they invited someone else. They each invited other people to come and experience it. Um, the one young lady, I actually called her on the phone because she had left me a message on the sign up roster that only I could see that she had some aversion to particular aromatherapy.
mm,
So I saw it. I reached out to her and I said, can I call you? Because I got your message. I really want to speak to you about this. So she said, okay. And I called her and I asked her, I said, so, do you want to explain to me what's going on? And she said, well, how much do you want to know? And I was
mm,
like, oh boy, there's something, there's something here. So, and I told her, I said, you can trust me. This conversation is between you and I. You can tell me as much or as little as you would like, but just please let me know what fragrance it is so I make sure that I don't use it.
yeah.
Well, long story short, she was sexually assaulted
Mm,
and she has some trauma, some remembrance of patchouli,
mm,
just the smell of patchouli oil. And I was like, okay, I want to make sure that I don't trigger something
Right.
during the ceremony because I use patchouli a lot.
Mm,
Especially like I use it in blends when I make oils. I use it as an incense. So I'm glad that she told me that. Otherwise, it could have turned out badly
yeah.
had she not told me. So I thanks her for sharing. And I made quite the connection with her. I met her for the first time last night. She walked in and she just embraced me so tightly.
Mm.
Just from our conversation, we had never met, but we had spoken on the phone, and she just thanked me over and over. She made a Facebook post, she made an Instagram post. It was just very, very special.
Mm.
And then the other lady texted me this morning and she said, oh, my friend Allie really enjoyed our ceremony last night and she slept sounder than she slept in a long time. So
Oh,
just hearing those things when you share your gifts with other people, then you know that you have helped them
yeah.
is really nice.
Yeah. I want to just speak to that a little bit more of like you as the space holder and then
Mm,
others out there who are the people who are potentially participating, right?
yeah.
Like how you really created that safe space even before you entered into the space and created.
Mm-hmm.
You started with just checking in and seeing if there was any sort of note for the person who, for the people who registered.
Yeah.
Um, you took that extra step. You could have done that, but you could have also pulled that person aside in the middle of the class or right before the class, and that might not have gone well. You might not have even addressed it. Like just
Right.
to say, we're like where we said earlier, you don't always know who you're affecting. Like just taking that little extra effort was such a huge impact on this person's life. And the other piece I would love to just share with, emphasize with what you just spoke to of people who are listening who haven't been to a yoga class and thinking, oh, well, that's not for me, or maybe I don't want to be touched, or there's this aromatherapy, or there might be music that I don't know if what I'm walking into. Because what I've noticed, and you might have noticed this too, since you've been teaching for a while as well, is I've been teaching for over 20 years. And since 2016, the way that we hold space as teachers has changed drastically.
So different.
The culture has changed so much, and we have to be really mindful. Like I think that we were unconscious for so many years of how we were holding space, and people might not have come to class and even realized why they didn't resonate with that teacher, or maybe they did and they're like, I'm not going to go back there. And us as teachers might not have realized the effect that we were having on people. But because there was such a wave of awakening, one being the Me Too movement, right? People were realizing, oh, I have some sort of trauma. It doesn't necessarily have to be sexual trauma, but a lot of people are waking up to realizing that they have these various traumas that they were unconscious of. And for us as teachers, we do have a responsibility to be cognizant of, we might not know everything and we don't have to walk on eggshells, but how you said it was just so beautiful, right? Like you don't have to tell me everything,
Right.
right? But just tell me so I know I can create a safe space for you. What is the fragrance, right? Like just having those little moments is so powerful. And for the student who's walking into that class or contemplating that, right, to have your voice, if you are somebody who is averted to a smell or a sound or being touched, like
Yeah.
don't be afraid to speak into that on a piece of paper when you sign up for the class or to the teacher before the class. That is your right to express it, and you don't have to tell us why.
Right.
You can just say, you know, and then if that person doesn't hold that space, you and I would do it.
I,
And I'd like to think that other teachers out there are being very, compassionate about this too, is that they're going to listen to you and hold that space for you and and welcome you, right? And it's okay if you go and you still don't want to go, that's absolutely fine. But to take that risk, because we're kind of speaking around taking risks, right,
yeah.
today, being spontaneous. So
Yeah.
just wanted to put it out there for anybody who is listening and thinking, oh, I'd kind of like to go to MJ's class or a class in general. right? What would that be like? And what are my rights and, that I'm able to speak up and be seen and heard and felt. So
Mhm.
thanks for speaking to that. And I'd love to go back to your spontaneous adventures. I enter in somewhere
How
around
many?
there. It's all about me. No, just kidding. Um, yeah, but I don't remember how, maybe it was on social media because you had already moved to Florida.
Yeah.
I decided to leave the Roundhouse and close that program because of what I was going through with my father passing away and my divorce and my health and everything. And then I remember, well, Lori, I
I
remember
do.
going, okay, what the hell am I gonna do with myself? And Lori just said, you should go to, I can't remember. I think I got an email and I had this idea of retreats, but I didn't know how to execute it or do anything about it. But I remember being in class and before class and saying, I might be going to Costa Rica and maybe I'll host a retreat. And she just said, you should do that. I'll come. And then the next thing I know, you were signed up too. And like I said, I might have put it up on social media. And I think I did because it was a memory the other day.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
you said, I'm in because
I
I
saw it.
posted
Yeah.
in there. So it was just like you two were my first signups. And then I had, Carol Ann and Natalie and everybody. But um,
Uh,
what was that on your side? I'd love to hear your side of that story of when you signed up for Costa Rica. And now you had gone to the UK prior. Had you done a little bit of traveling between then and Costa Rica?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I had gone. Um, let's see. I went to Italy. I went to Amsterdam.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Um, obviously, I mean, I've been to Canada many times, but where I lived, especially
Yeah, it's like
where I grew
Canada.
up. Well, where I grew up, like it was so easy to get there.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have to fly, we could just drive over the border where I lived, where I grew up, and then when I moved way up north near Plattsburgh, it's still like just you can drive over the border. So I had been there, but as far as, big travel, yeah, it was the UK, it was Italy, it was Holland. Um, oh gosh, we went somewhere on a boat in between those places. I don't know. But I remember it was like the winter time and the sea was
That sounds cool.
horrendously rough.
Yeah.
Um, I remember seeing Dover, like the White Cliffs, the actual White Cliffs of Dover, and I remember like most people on the boat were just ill, like seasick because the
Well,
but whatever. So yeah, I had done many excursions, so I got the travel bug immediately at that point, and I was trying to remember that also when I was telling somebody about the first time that I had gone on a retreat with you, and I feel like you might have even texted me. I don't know. I feel like there was some kind of like smaller reach out other than social media. It was either an email or a text and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about this." And when you did post it and like post an actual link that you could register, I'm like, I'm going. I'm here in Florida. Like getting to Costa Rica is nothing.
yeah.
It's so easy to get there from here. And it was very inexpensive. I actually had enough JetBlue points to go there for nothing on the airplane. I just had to pay for the retreat. Um, so that was like my first yoga retreat was with you
Oh my
there.
goodness.
Yeah. And I had actually I was writing some notes for myself for this podcast, just as I was talking about like to talk about going to Bali and how my theme is where friends gather and intended to bring people together and form new relationships. So Natalie,
Yeah.
as you spoke of, you had paired us up together for
Yeah.
whatever intuitive reason that you had was to put Natalie and I together as roommates. And the retreat was amazing. There were so many cool things that we did there. I learned how to surf.
Mhm.
I mean, there's like all these things that we did that were so fun and so exciting, and so adventurous. Really, the zip lining. Oh my gosh, so much fun. We had that retreat was very, I don't know, just very energizing. And we did so many fun adventure things like that. But Natalie and I connected.
Mhm.
And somehow you knew that was going to happen. And I think that's why you paired us together so that the following time when we went to uh,
Yalapa, Mexico.
Yalapa,
Mhm.
and you said Natalie is coming, and I said, can we room together again? And I had
Oh,
reached out to her and I said, hey, I heard you're going to Yalapa too. And she said, yeah. And I said, do you want to room together again? And she's like, really? You want to room with me again? And I said, well, yeah, we got along so well. We had the best time and we ended up together again. So that was almost 10 years ago.
yeah, that one I think it was, yeah, 8 or 9 years ago. I can't remember.
Well, Costa Rica was
Yeah,
10 years ago and whatever. I think we went early in the year, like March or something.
yeah, I
Did
was
we go?
living there then. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
think
we're going on 10 years. And I still, like Natalie and I do still have some communication still back and forth. And it was just so lovely to do that. So so we did that, and then we did Yalapa, and then we did, I guess, Bali. I feel like there was one in between there that
with you, I mean, I did many in between, but yeah,
yeah,
I feel like we had a little hiatus. We didn't
we
see each
did.
other for a while.
We did. I think there was one I
Bali.
was going to join you on, and then I ended up not being able to go.
It might have been the first Bali. Might have been
Yeah,
the first time I went to Bali in 2017.
it was.
And
It
then,
was that. And that's when I lost my job and was doing the
mm,
teacher training. And I remember, yes, that's what it was. And I said, I don't have this money to spend to go to Bali at
yeah,
this time because I just
yeah,
lost my job and I just invested whatever it was,
teacher
a
training.
few $1,000s for teacher training. That's why. So that's why I didn't get to go to that. And then we went in 2020.
March 2020, not just January, but no, March 2020. In case anybody out there knows, there was
Yeah.
something happening. We just had Karen on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. Who was also on
Oh,
that trip. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Holy moly.
yeah, that
So
was
it
an
was the
experience.
very end of February. I think it was like 27 or 28. Like, I think that's when I actually left here to get there.
Yeah, it was the first through the 10th, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just like, so I don't want to say oblivious, but I wasn't going to let it bring me down. I wasn't going to let it scare me.
Pandemic, yes.
Yeah. I'm like, we're still going. And I don't think there was ever a question on my part. It was people that I know, people that I worked with. Um, I remember this one lady, like, just it still sticks in my brain. And she goes, "You're so stupid." She said this right to my face. I can't believe you're still going. You're so stupid. I said,
Mm,
well, why am I stupid? I said, I bought this trip. It's still on. Nothing is closed. And why would I not go when I had this opportunity? So I know that when we were there, that many of us received some not so nice messages from other people, and again, just random messages. I can't believe you went. What if you get stuck there? You guys are dumb, and just
wow.
things, just things. But we had the best time, and it was for me. Gosh, Bali was probably the most life changing one for me.
Mhm.
I think, um, really, because such a completely different culture, a grateful culture, spiritual culture, just so much different. I mean, not that I didn't love the other retreats that we went on, but Bali just really changed me.
Mm,
It changed me a lot. Um, and again, like meeting all of these people for the first time, it was just amazing. It was amazing to meet all them, and then all of a sudden, like, we just know each other and know everything about each other in the matter of 10 days.
Yeah.
And that, we still talk, we still connect on social media. But yeah, all of the things that we did together were amazing.
Yeah. That was a
I don't know what else to say, honestly.
Yeah, that was a special group and a special time. I mean, and I'd love to just kind of reflect on that
Hmm.
as the leader, the space holder, because I remember a few of you, I don't know if it was you, but I know a couple of you of our participants were reaching out and saying, "Are we still doing this?" And
Hmm.
I had to be that really steady solid ground, not from an oblivious point of view, but I really meditated on it. I sat with it as, I was hearing these rumblings of the world is getting sicker and
Closing.
sicker. And I don't know if it was closing just yet, but there was that idea of like things are going to be bad if we get over there and we get sick or we get stuck. And I meditated on it, and there it was just such a clear sign of go, just go. And what I had to do to commit to that was to really commit to that for you all, to be steady. Because if I wobbled, then you guys might have wobbled too. And we had one of our participants, she got stuck. Where was she stuck? In Tokyo?
Tokyo.
Yeah, Tokyo. And she didn't join us until like many days into it. And I remember she was a bit nervous about the traveling. And then she was she was the most nervous. And then she got stuck.
Got
But then
stuck.
she got it and she realized, it was still worth making that trek, even though she missed most of the retreat. And
Right.
um, but to say, it's really important for us as teachers and space holders to know when it's safe and how to create that safe space,
Hmm.
because some people might have backed out if I was wobbly or kind of didn't give them that confidence, right, to go. And the other thing I wanted to just reflect on too is those first two retreats. Those were the first two, was Costa Rica and Mexico. They were so much fun, but I think it was the location. Bali really creates that sacred
Sure.
space,
Hmm.
but also we went a lot deeper because that's where I was on my journey, right? Like I
Right.
could take you guys there. And so that too, as a leader that you're about to step into, we're going to talk about that in a second, right? Um, to be able to know the depth that you can go and know that you can take people there and have them create this safe space. And you do this in your classes and then your events, and now you're going to step in, and I just want to witness this because I have, and everybody has listened today. I've gotten to witness you as a student and then becoming a teacher and coming on my retreats too. And then I remember this fall you were like, I want to host my first retreat. And I think I want it in Bali. And I was like, I can help you with that. And now I get to watch you step into this role, and I also get to support you. So let's explore that a little. What is going on in your mind and your heart? And
Ah, well, as I just spoke of previously, Bali really changed my life
Mhm.
completely. We were there during a wild time in the world for all of us. Things started to, things were actually okay when we were there. It was on the way back that we ran into parts of the world started to shut down, airports started to shut down, and it was, it's okay. We're like, we're here, and there's no sense to get upset because we're here. We're trying to get home, and we all got home. Everything was fine. The whole world had changed when I got here. I couldn't figure out what had actually happened when I stepped back into the United States.
Yeah.
It was very, very different, very differently held, and just dealt with completely different here than it was over there. But regardless, it changed my life completely. The spirituality, the kindness of the people, the gratefulness of the people to have us there, to have our tourism, just to have us there, and just to have things planned for us, to prepare us for things, especially at the Floating Leaf. The staff there was so accommodating, and so they explained every single thing, like what was going to happen, and they had their own people to take us when we went to the temple. Remember, there was, of course you remember, but the young man that went with us, and he was explaining to us, as women, like, you have to be covered, and you have to have this on, and you can't wear that, and this is how you hold your hands, like, you don't hold your hands here, you hold them here, like, just so many things that we had to be taught. And they were so gracious, so very gracious. We made our offerings when we were weaving the basket, and I was like, I can't. As crafty as I am, I'm like, I can't do this. Then Sukma, she was like, yes, you can. Let me just show you how to weave this one more time. And I ended up doing it. And they're just so kind and so accommodating. And I wanted to share that with other people. And it wasn't even a question of, where do you want to go? I want to go here. I want to go back to Floating Leaf because I've already experienced it. And for me, it's easier for me to speak to because I've already been there.
Yeah.
I'm not just like, let's just go to this place and have no idea what's happening. At least I know what I'm in for and what to expect from them, and that the people that do decide to come with, I'll know what they're going to receive there, as well as from me and from you to offer them. But I know how smoothly things go there, and how they make everything just lovely and fabulous and everything. We had great weather while we were there. Everything was great, and we, for me, and I'm not going to speak for you or anyone else, but I just kind of blocked everything else out that we were going to go back to 2 weeks later or come back to. I just enjoyed myself in that moment and took it all in. So I really want to have these people that come with us to share the same experience, or even a better experience, if that's possible, than I did. No, really. And to make new friendships, just like I said, Natalie and I, our first retreat, and here we are. Like, we wanted to stay together for the second retreat. And if people are having issue with letting things go, to release things that don't serve them any longer, or leave someone or something, a situation, an addiction, a behavior, whatever they need to leave behind, they know that it's safe to come with us, and that there will be other people there to share with, and then they can form new, lasting, lifelong friendships and bonds with other people, just like, much like I did.
Yeah. You're giving back again. You're serving.
Right.
To share that.
Right.
And yeah, I want to speak to the location too, because Floating Leaf is such a special place, and you spoke so beautifully about the people, but also the physical space is it
Yes.
feels, it's very open aired, but it also feels very held, like a cocoon in some ways.
Very intimate. Mm-hmm.
Very intimate, and not like you're on top of each other. It's very wide and spacious, and the rooms are beautiful, and
Mm.
you know, private pool, and there's, that open yoga deck, or shala, I don't know the word that we would use, but it's just it, but it feels like you're so held. Even though we did go out and we went to temple and we had these experiences outside of it, we always just had this beautiful place to come home to during
Right.
that week. And like you said, the whole world was just massive chaos, but we felt like we could really tune into each other in our group and tune out all of that noise outside of the world as it was doing wild, chaotic things. And I remember that because then on our trip, we had 3 days of integration into Ubud, which is a city, and we stayed at the yoga barn. So we we're still in this big space, offering, a yoga. It's still basically a yoga retreat space, but a lot more people. And that's when I think we all started to hear the buzz and everything, like, oh. And I just remember I felt like, I don't know about you, but I felt like all of our nervous systems were just so relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really freak out because it was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, we'll just get there when we get there. And it was really beautiful. And the reason why I wanted to say that is because it is such a powerful place to tap into yourself and tap into your community. And when you go back out into the world, it really empowers you to take on whatever it is. I mean, we came out of it in a freaking global pandemic.
We
Uh,
did.
yeah, so that's just my invitation for everybody else. If they're looking to take that leap, to be spontaneous, taking that risk in life,
Mm-hmm.
know with MJ, you're going to be held and seen and felt. And, you know, Bali and Mama Bali and Floating Leaf will do the same too. And when you go out, you will feel empowered to take on whatever is waiting for you on the other side.
Right. And I wanted to touch on again, you had said about we went out on our excursions and then we came back home. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what it was. And for people that don't know about the floating leaf, when we go there on retreat, it's just for us.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it's not, I don't know the correct word, but I guess not a public place where you can just come. You have to be there with a retreat. So it is like home. We
Mm-hmm.
pretty much have taken over the entire space, and the the accommodations are lovely. Like Phoebe said, we have our private pool. There's a beautiful spa, and I sometimes they'll do treatments out by the pool as well. So they'll have like two treatment places, the shala or the deck. I wish I could share a picture, but someone took a picture of me meditating, and they took it like from my back. I don't know who took that picture, but I was looking over, I guess, the rice fields
Mm-hmm.
meditating in the morning by myself, and somebody caught me up there and took a picture. So it was very, there's so many little hidden places in there too.
Yeah.
Like as open air as it is, like there's a little meditation, like little roof over here, and there's a little corner over here. Like there's
Yeah.
all these little places that you could retreat to.
Yeah.
But so, like I said, I did kind and welcoming and grateful and very spiritual place. Um, so I encourage everybody to come and join me, and
Yes,
Phoebe will be there too.
yes, I will. So let's give them the details. Where friends gather. When
Where
are
friends gather. We start on April the 1st of 2024, which is actually it's a Monday through the 1st through the 7th. Flying into DPS, Denpasar, which as quiet and retreat as the floating leaf is, it's only like 15 miles away from the airport, so it's not really off the beaten path. It's very easily accessible. Um, yeah, it's a Monday through Sunday, the 1st through the 7th. Um, those are the details of the travel. We have many things planned. Of course, we'll go to the Sacred Water Purification Temple. We have a beach day planned. We all have a spa day planned for every single one of you. What else do we have going on? We have, um, oh, it'll be new moon while we're there. So I will do a new moon ceremony. We will have a local healer come in and do a sound bath meditation for us during one of our evening practices. There is a welcome dinner, usually on our second or third night, with the traditional Balinese dancers. Um, Gosh, what else did we plan? There's so many
Yeah,
things.
I have a fun video of you and me dancing. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I do.
Balinese dancers.
I do.
Yeah, arts
Oh, we'll
and
have a
culture
shopping
tour.
trip and things like that. And then there's plenty of free time to do whatever you'd like to do. And you don't have to do anything. You can or cannot, it doesn't matter. You can lay by the pool or go to the beach as much as you would like there, but there is plenty of free time as well as plenty of activities to keep everybody entertained and occupied, with a lot of camaraderie and friendship and talks and philosophies, especially over our meals together. Like one big table, if I remember correctly, there's one big table. We have a private chef and very accommodating for the meals. We have to obviously give them a rundown of what we do and do not eat, if we have any allergies. And I have a peanut allergy, and I went to get something off of the table, and I don't remember which one of them it was, and said, "No, MJ, you can't have," like they immediately were like, "No, you can't have that." I was like,
Probably Gus.
I'm
He's
like,
on.
"What? What do you mean?" He's like, "There's peanuts in there." I'm like, "Oh," but so aware
Yeah.
of what's going on. So I love that so much. Um, yeah, lots of fun things to do or to not do, and of course, the Movement 109 ceremony. I think we already talked about new moon ceremony. There'll be practices, 2 practices a day offered. And I believe we're doing a charity inclusion
Yes.
event
The school, at a local school.
at a local school. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which you guys didn't get to do because of COVID, but yeah. So
Right. Right.
yeah.
We're,
We're going to have the link in the show notes so people can just go and click and follow.
uh-huh.
And can you let people know how to follow you specifically if this is their first introduction to you? Where are you hanging out on maybe social media?
Oh, yeah. Social media. I'm on Instagram as MJ Yoga. So it's EMJAY_yoga. My full name is MaryJo Samaritano. It's capital J. There's no E. It's just J-O. Yeah, my actual name after my both of my grandmothers is Maria Josephine. So that's how my parents came up with my name. So there's no E and there's no space. It's Mary, capital J-O, Samaritano. That's what I'm on Facebook as, or MJ Yoga on Instagram. And then from my Instagram, my link tree is on there with a link to the retreat specifically is there. And any questions that you might have, please reach out to me, DM me, email me, however you would like to get a hold. But I would love to see all of you, so many of you, join us in beautiful Bali.
Yeah. Anything else before we say goodbye?
I don't think so. I
Oh
think
my,
that is all. Thank you so much for hosting me and making me comfortable.
oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for being here.
Just
It's a
like having a conversation.
joy.
You're so right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's nothing to be nervous of. You've been talking to me for 13 years or something. So
I
yeah,
know,
we're
right?
now just sharing our conversation with the space in between worlds. So thank you so much. It's just, I'm so excited to witness you in this new chapter of your life. So, and thank you for trusting me and helping me support you through this. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for always being there for me and offering to help me in the first place. So, yeah, you made it so much easier because I didn't know where to begin.
that warms my heart. Well,
But
thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. Thank you, Phoebe.
You will see everyone where friends gather in Bali.
Bali, Bali.